Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA Veteran Vagner Rocha. Vagner, how are you?
Alright, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Vagner, you got a fight coming up at Fight Time 12 on November 2nd. How's training been going for the fight?
Training's going good, doing the right things, doing good. A lot of conditioning, a lot of everything, full MMA training, so.
Mm-hmm. For this training camp, has it been easier to train and stay motivated because you know that you're going up against someone that you don't like, or is it just training as usual?
It's both, it's good to have a different motivation. A lot of times it gets pretty basic. You study somebody, you figure out what they do, and then you pick up what they do best and try to impose what you do best. And then this camp, there's that, and then there's always a little motivation of you want to hit somebody because you don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's both.
Now your opponent, Mike Bruno, let's go back to the beginning. How did this issue all start?
When I got my first opportunity to fight in the UFC, he bashed me on the internet or on a couple websites, and then and he went on to do that in my second and my third following fight. Giving out interviews and saying things, bad things, and I was for no reason, and he never even said a thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it started. And then when I got released by the UFC after my last fight, I was like, man, the first time I'm fighting this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
How do you know Bruno? Is he someone who used to train with you, or is he just an acquaintance because he fights MMA as well?
I know him from the Florida circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to train. I used to train with ATT a long time ago, and I know him from there. So we used to train a little bit together, maybe 10 years ago. So and that's one of the reasons why I was kind of offended by the fact that he was talking bad. I was like, that guy knows me. I don't understand why he's thrashing on me. But the truth is, he was envy. His envy got to him, and he said some things he probably didn't mean, and he probably said some things he regrets now, and he got to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. I was watching a promo that Fight Time put out, and he said his part of the story was he said some bad things, and then he went to go apologize to you, and you didn't accept that apology. Why didn't you accept that apology?
First off, he apologized on the internet, which to me is like you said, put it on Facebook. Oh, I'm sorry for what I said. His apology to me was not even a real apology. And then, I made a statement nice and clear. I don't care what you say. There's nothing to apologize to now. And he apologized after we had signed to fight. So it's not, to me, it's past that now. We already signed to fight. There's no apologies accepted. So.
What do you think his strengths are, and what do you think his weaknesses are as a fighter?
His strengths are wrestling. He wrestled in high school, and he did really well. He's continuous, and he shows that in his fights. He's got a lot of good takedowns. And his weakness, I think, a little bit, it will be his stand-up, because he really never really demonstrated it. He doesn't really even throw punches out before he shoots. So I think that would be what I would have to say is his weakness. And, it's, I don't know if he's going to come out with a different strategy, if he's coming out to throw punches this time, or if he's coming out to try to shoot. But either way, if he takes me down, which he probably could, it's not going to matter, because I feel great on my back, and he can try to win the fight that way, and he's not going to try to hug me to death, so.
Usually when two fighters go against each other who don't like each other, there's a long feeling out process. Do you see that in this fight, a long feeling out process, or do you see, it just being a regular fight and, when somebody sees an opening, going and taking it?
I think personally on my own research, I think it's going to be one of those, you try to take the opening that you get and make it quick, I think, the faster this fight goes, the more it favors me. I think I have a really good cardio, and I think the faster the pace, the better the fight.
You mentioned that he might try to take you down. I'm sure you played this fight in your head, 1,000 times. Where do you see the fight going?
I see it going everywhere. At the ground, standing, everything. Like I said, I see a pretty fast-paced fight. Definitely going to be some work and our standing. Because I think you're going to realize that it isn't going to be that easy to take me down like he's taking down everybody else. And even if he does get me down, he's going to have a handful. So I think this fight's going to play out everywhere.
Also, usually when we see two guys who fight who don't like each other, after the fight, they sort of squash the beef, so to say. Do you see that happening in this fight after the fight is over, that you guys will go back to just being okay with each other?
It'll all depend on what happens after the fight,
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you yes, and I can't say no,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a human being, and I do forgive people, but in this sense right now, I don't choose to forgive Mike until he has to get his words, because, his interview wasn't just bashing me, it was bashing my skills and bashing, the opportunities I got and saying that I didn't deserve them. So let's see if he deserves his opportunity, which is to fight me.
Mm-hmm. Is this fight going to be at lightweight or featherweight?
Lightweight.
Your last fight in the UFC, why did you decide to make the drop down to featherweight, and why have you decided to come back up?
I made the decision to go to featherweight because I was making 55 pretty relatively easy, and I figured maybe I would have an edge doing featherweight, but and I made featherweight pretty easy. I'm not going to tell you I didn't make it. It was hard, and that's the reason why I'm not going to do it. The truth is I made featherweight because I stayed on a really strict diet throughout my training camp, and I kept my weight really low, and I felt like it affected me in training a lot, where I would do really well with a lot of different people because I'm able to impose my strength and my size on them. And as in that fight, as in that training camp, I wasn't doing the same exact things I usually do, and I felt a little gun shy. So I think it harmed me not in the fight, but it harmed me in my training, and then which led to the fight. And it showed in the results. So I just, like I said, I think I wasn't as confident as I normally am, and when you're not doing this so well in your regular training, you kind of like start second guessing, and I was definitely second guessing myself a little bit. So not that I was going to make weight, just how I was going to feel after I made weight, and I felt great, but I didn't do well. So.
Mm-hmm. Have you closed the door on 145, or is it a possibility that you could once again revisit that weight class?
Man, for now, I have closed the door on it. Mm-hmm. But if an opportunity arises to get back in the UFC to fight at 145, I think I could take it. I really want to get back in there and fight again in that organization. So, all these other fights are going to be. I would rather get back in there and fight at 55 for sure. I would feel better that way. I know I would, but whatever has to be done will be done.
Mm-hmm. You were 1-2 during your time with the UFC. I'm sure you would have liked to have had more success and more time fighting for them, but overall, what was the experience like fighting for the UFC?
It was good. There's a reason why they're the biggest organization in the world. They do the right things. They take care of everybody, and they're the best. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. It's hard to match up with them, with what they do and the way they set everything up and the way everything is ran and the organization skills. And I fought in Strikeforce and Bellator and fought in the UFC, and it's hard to even compare. The other shows with them.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure over the past couple of months that you've thought a lot about this, but have you been able to put a finger on what went wrong for you during your run with the UFC?
You know what? I honestly think I got a little bit of a raw deal, on the matchmaking. The first fight I had to fight Cerrone to get in there, and fight, and that Cerrone's the top 155 in the world right now, he's top 10 for sure, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a tough fight. I went 3 rounds with him, and made it through that. And then my second fight, in my first fight, I had 2 weeks' notice to fight Cerrone. Forgot to mention that. And then in my second fight, they gave me, proper notice, and they gave me the opponent, and the opponent we went through, and nobody fell through, and nobody got hurt. And I fought McKenzie, and I did well there, and I won. And then in my third fight, I had an opportunity to fight Mike a big name in the UFC.
Right.
And I was about, I think, like a month and a half. Yeah, I think it was like a month, about a month into the camp, and Mike Brown got hurt, and they rescheduled the fight. They basically removed me from the card, and they said, "Hey, you're not gonna fight on this card. You're not gonna fight Mike Brown. This is what's going down." And I was like, "All right, fine." And then Jonathan Brookins was scheduled to fight Ronnie Yaya, and his fight was on deck. And maybe 2 weeks out, Ronnie got hurt, and they asked me, after a week and a half off, thinking I'm not fighting anymore, to come in to fight Jonathan Brookins. Me being, saying, what, I'm going to do the right thing, get in there and fight, because, that's what they want, and I'm going to do it. I went in and did the fight, and I think that all had to do a little bit with the change-up, and, going from one guy to another, size-wise, everything just makes up a little change, and that could, change your fate.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised that they let you go so soon? Because usually when guys step up and take fights on short notice, they get a little bit more time. Were you kind of surprised that your time wasn't very long?
I had my fight contract wasn't 3 fights,
Mm-hmm.
and they let me go, and I was kind of surprised, because I did step up and take the fight, and that fight was, I took 2 short notice fights, and the one I took with time, I went in and did well, and then the first one I took, a big name, so I was a little surprised, but what are you going to do? It's the nature of the game.
Mm-hmm. What about Bellator? You're 2-0 under their banner. Do you have any interest in fighting for them again?
No, I haven't pursued that route.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many local shows here in South Florida, and trying to stick with the guys here and try to get through as many fights as I can and get some more experience, and then try to make my way back to where I want to be.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, why wouldn't you be interested in fighting for Bellator? Is it the whole tournament format thing?
There's a lot of reasons, but the fact is, was just not part of my dream,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like their event. I fought in their event twice. They're really good. They treat you good too. They're definitely a big show. They know how to put a show together. I just I have friends that fight in that organization, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's different.
I know it's very hard to predict, but how far away do you think you are from making a return to the UFC? Because there's a lot of injuries that happen, nowadays in MMA. There's, the injury bug is going around. And do you think you're, 2 fights, 3 fights away from getting back there?
Yeah, I mean, it could be 3, 4, it could be 5, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It is, it's on them, it's their call. I've seen guys fight once and go back, but doesn't mean that's that's my case.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be a couple 4 fights in, wouldn't be bad.
Mm-hmm. Vagner, November 2nd, how does the fight end?
I think it ends by submission, some way, somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I know Mike for a long time, and I know him for about 10 years, and he's one-dimensional, and he hasn't changed his ways, so I think he really thinks he's going to take me down.
Vagner, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you would like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I would like to thank Brawl. They hooked me up a lot. They take care of me, and sponsored me since my first MMA fight. They always come out with some cool ass gear, which is good. Definitely look up Brawl and Mall. And I also like to invite anybody to visit my website, VagnerRochaMartialArts.com. I have a lot of videos up there. I always post videos of instructionals, of pictures of my fights and stuff like that. Cool things. If you've ever been, you should visit. Basically.
Vagner, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck at Fight Time 12 on November 2nd against Mike Bruno.